let's talk a little about the money. Uh, so the Nutrition Coalition was the we sponsored and we started the first ever systematic review of all the conflicts of interest on a dietary guideline advisory committee. Nobody had done this before. So we did this for the 2020 committee. We discovered that 95% of this 20-person committee had at least one tie with food or pharma, and more than half of the committee had 30 such ties or more. One member of the committee had 152 ties. And it's with not just food, but you have to, pharma. I didn't understand this when I first started my research. Pharmaceutical companies fund a lot of nutrition researchers. And they may do this because they have like a product, like a formula based diet that they want to promote. But they also have an interest in dietary recommendations that produce human beings who are not healthy and who then need their pharmaceutical products. So that's seems really quite cynical, but I just don't think you can underestimate their way that they promote their products, and that's one of them. Um, the companies that were most frequently mentioned as having ties with the Dietary Guideline Committee were like Kellogg's, Unilever, Nestle, Dannon. They're also the ones that have the most influence in global food policy, and Coke, Pepsi, um, and also a group called ILSI, ILSI, which is like the International Life Sciences Institute, which is also, although they call themselves a nonprofit, they're really an interest group for large multinational food corporations. So and are hugely influential. Um, so we also found another piece of work we did at the Nutrition Coalition is that the very office that runs the dietary guidelines within USDA, that little office has more than 100 formal partnerships with food companies. So, they meet monthly. What I don't know what they talk about, they're working with food companies. And part of the issue we see here is an inherent problem in the USDA, which was known from the very start of the guidelines, which is that they're an agency that is supposed to promote American farm products. They're supposed to promote various food products. I don't think they were ever intended to promote multinational food corporations, but they are now effectively doing that. But they also have a conflicting mission in the guidelines to tell people to eat less of this and more of that. So they have to pick and choose their industries. And they're just inherently conflicted in those dual missions.
One thing we're quickly noticing here as we get into the weeds is that with the amount of corruption, dirty money, so much behind the scenes that we probably only know a certain percentage of, to me, it's like, okay, given all this, we got to go grassroots. Trying to police different people and investigate and trying to get all these different groups to participate and abide by the rules seems, and I'm not saying this in a negative way, helpless. We need to go grassroots and work from the bottom up.
I'm really sympathetic to that argument, but I get stuck at the point at which every single federal agency is required by law to follow the guidelines. So even if we fix our own, the food in our own households and our families, what about what kids are getting fed at school? And what about poor kids? What about when people in nursing homes? What about all the cafeteria food people eat? What about people in the military being told, eat spaghetti and avoid meat? I mean, there's just so many people. I mean, like 1 in 4 Americans eats a government funded meal a day. Women and infant children. There's currently almost no protein in those meals they give infant children and women. There are too many people left out of the solution if you ignore the guidelines. That's my problem with it.
I hear you. I agree with you. It's a great point. But let's caveat what I said then. Grassroots, making change, starting there, and then trickling out to impact guidelines.
Well, that's essentially what we tried to do, which was to organize people to impact this policy. I think you could do it. You just need a lot more money behind that issue. Or you need leadership. You need, let's just say if Trump were elected and they decided to reform this policy, that might work. Um, Potentially.
We definitely
But
need to do something different.
yeah.
Apparently nothing we're doing right now is working.
Well, I mean, it's just that there is this huge impediment, which is this giant government policy that is so wrong. I mean, do you know that it is illegal to even give away whole milk on school grounds? You have to give it away in a parking lot across the street or something. You can't even give away whole milk to kids. That's how tough it is. That's how, even these dairy farmers who want to give away their milk to children are not allowed to do that.
Since we're talking about going grassroots and building up from there, anything within that policy worthy at this point that we can keep?
No,
Have they gotten anything right?
no. I mean, not really. I can't even think of a single thing. It's lean meat, low fat dairy, huge emphasis on fruits and vegetables. They don't distinguish between fruits and vegetables. They're all the same for them. Emphasis on in the protein category, which has been eroded, and in the new guidelines is likely further to be eroded, shifting from animal sourced proteins to beans, peas, lentils, nuts, seeds. So switching over to incomplete proteins that are less easily absorbed by humans to use for muscle growth and repair. Yeah, I can't think of anything. Sorry.
Okay. When do the new guidelines come out?
It should be by the end of this year or early next year. Usually they like to drop them like in the dead spot between Christmas and New Year's, but they're not seeking a lot of attention.
If you enjoyed that clip, you're going to want to head over here and catch a full episode. I'll see you over there.
They ignored the trials showing the low-fat diet didn't work. They ignored the trials showing that replacing saturated fat with unsaturated vegetable oils did not have any effect on reducing heart disease or cardiovascular mortality. And that's the way they arrive at the